Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. And as always, I appreciate the support, guys. If you think the content that I'm putting out is worth your time, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It'd help me out a whole lot. So, since last week, I've had a lot of stuff going on. One of the cool things is this kid that fished the Smith Lake tournament with me and won, he contacted me and asked me if I'd be his boat captain for a high school Bassmasters tournament that they had going on. So absolutely, I ended up doing it, and the kid made it to states, which is awesome. I'm super proud of them. They did a really good job that day. I was hoping that I could help them a little bit, and which really didn't. I mean, I just kind of sat there and observed what they was doing, and I actually learned a few things myself, which is awesome. But the really good kids did a really great job. Very proud of them. Awesome people. But like y'all asked for, we're going to do something today. We're going to be talking about how to find fish offshore. So I'm not going to go into like riding around in the boat and all that stuff. I'm just going to, just because it's different on every lake, so I'm going to kind of break down a couple of different reservoirs that you need to try this stuff on, and little techniques that I use to help me find fish and so on and so forth. So guys, stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. So now we're going to talk about how to find fish offshore. Like, growing up through my whole entire life, I fished out of little flat bottoms, any pond that I could, any lake that I could when I was invited, and we just went down the bank, beating the bank, beat the bank, beat the bank. And there's nothing wrong with that. I still do that, even during the summer, fall, spring, winter. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're always going to find fish close to the shore. But I know a lot of people struggle on the offshore side. So besides this video, if you want to go into like real deep detail on how to find fish and set up your electronics and stuff, get on my Facebook page. It's just Colton Posey Fishing. You'll see all my stuff, or you can just go into Google and type in Colton Posey Fishing. It'll pull up everything. And send me a message and let me know what lake you would like to break down. And either I can come to that lake or meet you at a lake that's closer to me. And I mean, I do really affordable prices. So basically, like, I charge like $200 for a full offshore class. So what that means is whether it takes you a day to figure out how to use your electronics and find fish offshore, or whether it takes a week, I'm still going to show you and help you break down how to find fish offshore and whether or not they're catchable and so on and so forth. So let's talk about highland reservoirs. Okay, highland reservoirs, I'm talking those deep clear lakes, like Smith Lake, Lanier, stuff like that. Those lakes that have like blueback herring, that whole situation. If you guys have any of them lakes near you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So finding them fish offshore, I do not use my electronics that much. I really don't. One of the biggest things that I do, I get like a top water walking bait, like a Strike King Sexy Dog, the Head and One Knocker, spooks, stuff like that. And I make really long casts. And I only make about 10 casts across the point, diagonal to the point, so on and so forth. I kind of just make different casts here and there. And if the fish are there and they're willing to eat, they'll come up and bite. If they don't, I just move on to the next spot. So the spots that I typically hit is points, okay? You're going to find most of your blueback herring fish on those long points. Clay points is one of the big things. If it's got clay on it, there's going to be herring close by, or there's going to be fish that live on it waiting for those herring to come by, because eventually they're going to come up on them clay points. Islands. Islands is another great spot to find schooling fish that are eating on blueback herring and threadfin shad and stuff like that. And there's several different ways you can catch them. This all depends on water clarity, water temperature, the time of year, so on and so forth. So when I'm telling you this stuff, you need to take what I'm telling you on these reservoirs and apply it to your current situation. I don't know what's going on with that current situation, like you might be watching this video now and fish there in August. It might be completely different. So, so your island, your points, bluff walls on channel swings, whether it's if it's a lake or a river or whatever, it doesn't matter. Those when your creeks and stuff funnel out and there's some big wide channel swings with bluff walls on it, that's a great place for them fish to set up. Even though it's a lake and there's not current just blowing through it, or there's no locks or dams or nothing like that, like just blowing water through there, it doesn't matter. Wind will set up current on that stuff. So, you know, play the wind a little bit. So a lot of you guys will like try to finesse your way out of the wind, and I've been guilty of that many times too, but a lot of times your best bites is going to come out of the wind. So, or not out of the wind, but when you're sitting in the wind. So you want to find those places that the wind's going to push current up against it. Wind current is going to push current up against it, because that's where it's going to push most of the bait fish. So this time of year, like June, July, August, even September, I'm mainly focused on the main lake. That's mainly, I mean, sometimes I'll go back into coves and stuff, but it's usually if it has fresh water running into it and it's cooled the water down a little bit. So I stay close to the main lakes. Your places like shell beds, rock piles, brush piles, your common stuff, docks that's on the main lake, them are great places. And typically on them highland reservoirs and stuff, the fish tend to suspend a lot. There's usually a big population of spotted bass, and spotted bass love to suspend. So your jerk baits, even this time of year, whether it's soft plastic jerk baits, hard jerk baits, rattle traps, swim baits, drop shots, flutter spoons, anything that you can use to catch a suspended fish, those are still going to work this time of year. The only thing you need to figure out is color. You want to use something natural or something bright that they can see from a long ways away, and you want to move. You never want to slow down. The only time I will slow down is if I'm fishing something like a shaky head or something like that. If the fishery's got a lot of pressure, that's typically when I throw shaky heads and drop shots and stuff like that and slow way down. But if the fishery hasn't been getting a whole lot of pressure or something like that, like if it's a weekday, like a Thursday, and hadn't nobody really been fishing that much Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know, all your fun stuff is going to work great, but you got to move. That's one thing that a lot of people get wrong. They're still in that wind. I'm going to move it a little bit slow and this, that, and other. Avoid all that. Move that thing as fast as you can. So a summary of your highland reservoirs, you know, your points, your bluff walls, your coves that have fresh water running in it that's cooling the water off, your main lake stuff, your docks, brush piles, rocks, stuff like that, shell beds. That's all going to be great this time of year, especially finding fish offshore on a highland reservoir. But just remember what I said. Make 10, 12, 13 casts, and if you don't get bit, either the fish are not there or they're inactive. You need to come back at a different time. So now let's talk about river systems. River systems is different than a highland reservoir completely, and most of you people is going to be fishing rivers. Me personally, I love the highland reservoirs and stuff, but you know, it's hard to beat a good river bite. So typically I'm looking for creeks that have water consistently moving in it. So like Warrior River's close by. You have Lost Creek that runs into it, Wolf Creek, and so on and so forth. That water's usually continuously moving, not like real hard or anything like that, but I mean, it is moving. There's some type of current there. So you're going to have a big population of fish that live in them creeks in certain areas. Certain areas that I'll look for is real typical. Docks on that main creek channel, pads. When I say pads, I mean lily pads. Brush piles is great. Ledges. Ledges is a big question that I get a lot. How do I fish ledges? Where do I find fish on ledges? Well, that comes from sitting behind your graph. You're going to have to take the back seat of that day, because you might graph 8 hours before you find fish, or you might graph 2 and find fish. So it just depends. When I'm graphing ledges, I'm literally looking for places where you know, like if a point comes in and comes around and bends in, and then it goes up in this little cove or this small creek or something like that, I'm looking on the outside ledges of that point and stuff. I'm staying pretty pretty much in that area. A lot of times I'll go further on and stuff because you never know, you might find brush piles and stuff like that. But I'm not going to be real far from a creek or a cove on places like Warrior River and stuff like that. Now the Tennessee River, you're talking about like Gunnersville and stuff. That's a whole other ball game. You know, that grass changes everything, so on and so forth. You might be 300 yards away from the bank out there graphing, and it looks like no man's land, but you're seeing all kinds of crazy contours and stuff, and there's grass out there. So one of the things that you got to make sure you do, you got to take a seat, sit down, learn your electronics, sit down, study your maps. A lot of times this time of year, if I'm going fishing on a river system, I've been studying that map for 2 or 3 weeks, and I mean studying it hard because I'm looking for little stuff that other fishermen can miss. So you might see this pretty little ledge going down through the middle of the Tennessee River system. Everybody's going to see that. Everybody's going to graph that. Everybody's going to fish that. Yeah, you're going to catch fish. Yeah, they're going to catch fish. But I'm looking for that sweet spot. So 300 or 400 yards away from that little ledge, there might be a little hump, a little bitty hump that's got some grass on it, and those fish will just pile up there. And they're unmistakable when you see them. So just study your electronics, study your map, and pay real close attention to what you're doing. Try to take your time and think outside the box and try to understand what's going on. So talking about places like Warrior River, it's a small river system. It's not huge like the Tennessee River or anything like that. You know, I'm hitting those obvious places, you know, riprap banks, points that have pads and, you know, shell beds and all that stuff on it, bluff walls. But take your time, dissect the area with stuff. Like I love on a river system, it's hard to beat a Texas rig. Any kind of soft plastic on a Texas rig works really good on a river system, no matter what time of year it is. It'll get you a lot of bites. Sometimes it's big bites and sometimes it's small bites. You can never tell. But one of the big things that I love to use to cover a lot of water is just a square bill crankbait, especially early in the morning. I'm wide open with it. I'm able to locate fish real fast because I'm consistently moving and covering water. So on small river systems, look at your points, look at your bluff walls, look at your ledges close to those points and close to the main river systems, got docks and stuff on it. On your Tennessee River system, stuff like Gunnersville and places like that, you know, you got to look through the grass. That's the biggest thing. You got to find those sweet spots because there's going to be so many people out there fishing that the fish are going to be highly pressured, and you're just going to have to find those sweet spots. You're going to have to sit down. You're going to have to graph. It might take you 8 hours to find fish, but when you find them, you're going to wear them out. So we've covered highland reservoirs. We've covered river systems. Now let's talk about lowland reservoirs. So your lowland reservoirs are basically your typical lakes like Bear Creek and places like that, and I absolutely love fishing those type of fisheries. Those are the type that I grew up on. So places like Bear Creek and stuff, they're going to set up in the most obvious places. They're going to be on your main lake points. They're going to be on the outside of the points. They're going to be on main lake docks, main lake brush piles, any kind of creek that has fresh water running into it. Once again, that's you know, cooler water. They're going to be up in places like that. But mainly this time of year, all they're doing is chasing threadfin. So you could have a spotted bass, largemouth mix in that one area. That 4.5 pounder that I caught off of that top water walking bait that I posted on Facebook, that was the thing. That area that we were fishing, we've caught tons of spotted bass off of it before. Tons. I mean, small ones, you know, decent sized spotted bass. But it seems like once a year you'll get up there and there'll be a good population of largemouth, you know. So that's what happened that time. There's some willow grass up against the bank, and I'm just throwing a top water bait next to the willow grass, and the fish come out of the willow grass. So that's one thing that I really focus on lowland reservoirs. If there's that willow grass sticking up, you know, that stuff that looks like rice or whatever growing, swim jigs, I mean, everybody knows a swim jig works good in grass. Frogs work great. One thing that I like to do, I like Texas rigging a creature bait weightless and throwing it through the grass. That works really good if they're wanting something close to the top. Flipping inside the grass, that works really, really good. There's just tons of different ways to do it. But focus on the stuff that's got to be obvious, but look for little things outside the box. So, everybody's going to hit that grass point, but what about the edges and going out of the coves and stuff? I will, if I'm hitting a point, I'll hit the main spots that everybody hits, but I'll still go, 200 yards in one direction and then turn around, come back up, and then go 200 yards in the other direction and then come back up. Because it can be something so simple that you passed over those fish, but they was looking in a different direction or wanting the bait come at a different direction. So when I turn around and go back up, I get bit, But stick to your baits that are obvious. But one of the things, guys, once again, move your bait. Move it fast. This time of year, the water's warm. The bass's metabolisms are high. They're eating all night. They're eating all day. You just got to figure out which fish are active at the time that you're there. I guarantee I'm one of those people. I feel like no matter what lake I'm fishing, wherever I'm fishing, whether it's a little creek, whether it's on the main channel or whatever, there's a population of fish there, and either they're inactive or either they're active. And I just need to figure out which one it is. So, guys, that's how I find fish offshore. If you have any questions about it, just drop a comment down below. I'll be glad to answer it. Or if you want to go into more detail or whatever, shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram. I'll help you out all I can. Another thing, like I said earlier, if you're looking to just advance in the system of, finding fish offshore, and you want like a one-on-one private lesson, break this down for me. I need to see how it's done. I just don't understand it, or I'm not sure what's going on, so on and so forth. Shoot me a message. It's $200, $50 deposit. The $50 deposit is non-refundable, but once you meet me at the boat ramp, the other $150 is, required. But guys, maybe that'll help you catch a few fish. I hope it does. That's my lake breakdown of how I find fish offshore, whether it's a river system, highland reservoir, or a lowland reservoir. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you thought the content was worth your time. Appreciate it.